Dubnation, how are we doing? How are we feeling? Golden State Warriors fans, how are you doing? Welcome back to C-Train Station. Welcome to those new viewers. Welcome. I'm C-Train. Welcome to C-Train Station. We're going to talk a lot of Golden State Warriors basketball today, and it's going to be a good one because it's draft week. So I think what we're going to do is just NBA overview, some news and notes around the league. It's just a big trade, like just now. It is Monday night. And then we're going to go over some Warriors news. And then we'll go over the draft later this week. A few prospects to watch, a few names to remember. We're going to have fun. And the fun starts now. So congratulations to the Oklahoma City Thunder. They won in Game 7. They won the NBA Finals over the Indiana Pacers. Congratulations to them. I loved the defensive pressure that Oklahoma City put on the Pacers. I love that. Unfortunately for the Pacers, Tyrese Halliburton, their star, went down with a torn Achilles off of the calf strain. I hate that, yo. I hate that. That is so unfortunate. Also, it reminds me of like the Kevin Durant calf strain that turned into the Achilles tear. I think that due to these small tissue injuries turning into something greater, the NBA is going to need to think about like the games played, how many games are played consecutively, and there's going to have to be some wiggle room, maybe expanding rosters, but figuring out how to keep players as healthy as possible. That's a few Achilles injuries. It's been a battle of attrition this NBA season. I think we can say. Kevin Durant was traded. Kevin Durant is a Houston Rocket, y'all. He was traded for like the likes of Dylan Brooks, a Jalen Green, the number 10 overall pick, something like that. Yo, I love that. I like the trade for the Rockets because they didn't give up. Was it Jabari Smith? I believe they did not give him up. Tall shooter, 6'11", I believe, on the Rockets. And they got KD. And I'll tell you this. I was thinking this. I hope that I told you in the playoffs, the way that the Houston Rockets were like just mercilessly playing the Warriors physically. I was always thinking in the back of my mind, I was like, oh my gosh, this is catering to Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant is seeing the pain. Not the Warriors beat the Rockets, right? But he's seeing the pain inflicted on the Warriors, and he's loving that. Like, he's like, yeah, got it. Steven Adams can beat up Draymond Green. And I just saw that. I'm going to go to that team. What a play by Durant in terms of ring chasing. We'll see if it pays off for him. Also, just now, the Portland Trail Blazers traded Anthony Simmons for their guard, 6'3", for Drew Holiday. See, it happened so much. I don't even have any of the details. It like literally just happened. So Drew Holiday was essentially traded for Anthony Simmons. Great trade for both teams. So now you have the Trailblazers. They do have that. We don't love Drew Holiday's contract. However, they have Drew Holiday, Denny Avdia, Tumani Kamara, Donovan Clingan. Those four players are like the four horsemen of defensive apocalypse. They have a shot. The Portland Trail Blazers, if they keep that squad, are going to give people trouble. They may not win a lot of games, but they'll give other teams trouble. And they like made a playoff push later on. Now the Celtics, I can't even believe they just got a 20-point per game score. And he's like, what is he, like 25, 20? He's like in his prime for Drew Holiday. I can't believe it. Another steal for the Celtics. But we move on. Now this transitions. Now we talk about the Golden State Warriors. Mike Dunleavy Jr. had a press conference today, and he spoke with the media, and he had a few things to say, and I thought these were some interesting things of note. He stated that Jonathan Kuminga is the Warriors' top priority going into free agency, and I agree 100%. I believe that now free agents can be signed either today or tomorrow. That the Warriors can sign their own like restricted free agents, i.e. Jonathan Kuminga, now. I think that all has started, which is that's going to be so interesting. I'm glad that Dunleavy sees that as an important domino. And here's the thing, whether Kuminga re-signs with the Warriors or is signed and traded, the Warriors need to go about that business relatively quickly, and Mike Dunleavy Jr. just said so. He said that that was his number one priority, so it has to be a priority. Look, this Jonathan Kuminga, it can't be like a he said, she said with Kuminga and the Warriors. Something needs to be hammered out business-wise, so either Jonathan Kuminga will be on the squad come training camp in regular season, or he is done, and the Warriors are now recalibrating and really putting together a few more pieces to their puzzle. But that has to be done. In my opinion, and I've said this again, Warriors fans, if you look, we just saw Drew Holiday get moved. We just saw Kevin Durant get moved. Warriors fans, I'm telling you, if you're expecting a really big play from the Warriors, I think you may be let down because of this. If you're expecting a big play, a big trade from the Warriors, they will tell you this, I believe. I believe they'll say, we already did that with the Jimmy Butler trade, which was a top 5 trade of this the whole year. Jimmy Butler's a star. He was traded to the Warriors just last trade deadline. The Warriors made their big move. They do have their top 3 are Stephen Curry, Jimmy Butler, and Draymond Green. That is a very, very good top 3, and the Warriors really need to fill that out. So whether that's with Kuminga, this actually goes into the next thing that I'm going to talk about because of this. Whether Kuminga is on the squad or off of the squad come training camp, whether he's going to play for the Warriors next season or another season, it doesn't necessarily matter as much as this matters. And remember this, Warriors fans. I think this will be such a benchmark to do the Warriors want to commit to being a good and competitive team? Because good and competitive teams do this, and this is what I'm about to say. No, the Warriors must use their $8.7 million trade exception. The Warriors have a trade exception that was created, I believe, through the Kyle Anderson trade, through the Jimmy Butler trade that sent Kyle Anderson out. I believe that created an exception. But the Warriors have an $8.7 million trade exception. So they can trade this exception plus probably small draft capital for a player, for a tried and true player, for a player who has a salary of up to $8.7 million. The Warriors can do multiple things. They can use this trade exception, or they can let it expire and get absolutely nothing. A player who they could get with that trade exception, and probably 2 first-rounders, is Toumani Camara, who is, I just actually mentioned him earlier. He's an all-defensive league forward, and he plays for the Portland Trail Blazers. So listen to this. So listen to what I'm saying. Okay, listen to this. Look, it is just very, very, very important that the Golden State Warriors, because they have a few ways they can do with this exception, right? But listen to this. If we're looking at the Warriors, instead of the exception, or instead of a player, they have nothing when they could have literally had an all-defensive forward or at least a serviceable big man with that exception. When we're talking about, instead, so it's not like they're either going to get Toumani Camara or they're going to downsize and get like a Justin Holiday. No. It's either they're going to use that exception and get Toumani Camara, get Goga Bitadze, the center from the world. It's either going to do that or they get nothing. 0. That salary slot is gone. They will not be able to get another $8.7 million salary slot. That is a highly, highly coveted spot and slot if you are the Warriors. In my opinion, I know what the Warriors more or less are going to get with Jonathan Kuminga. That's okay. In my opinion, it doesn't necessarily bug me if the Warriors re-sign Jonathan Kuminga or if they choose to let him go or sign and trade him. But the benchmark and what will bug me is if they let this exception go to waste. They can't do this. They've done it in the past. It will destroy. It's the small things like using this exception for a quality player. It's these small things that add those precious few wins that really actually matter. seriously. Like, if the Warriors use that exception, even for a moderate to okay, Mark Williams, the center for the Hornets, is another player who the Warriors could get solely for the exception and draft picks. If the Warriors look at a player like Mark Williams and say, like, look, he's almost a double-double machine, a good defender, but we want him and we're going to replace him with nothing, it just hurts. It's the opportunistic value, the value that you could have had with that $8.7 million is gone, and it can't go. It must be met. That value and that slot, that $8.7 million exception, must be met with a serviceable player. I can't stress the Warriors, again, I'll just say this one more time. They've let these exceptions go in the past, and in my opinion, it's not a player like Kuminga necessarily who was the determinant for the Warriors' overall performance. It's these marginal moves, okay? These marginal moves that they don't make that kills them. It just really does. And they can't be paralyzed by their own indecision. And I don't think that they will. I think that Mike Dunleavy Jr. will make a move with that exception because it's too damning if he doesn't. I don't know how you go to Steph, Draymond, and Jimmy Butler and say, like, look, we had this exception. It's going to go to waste and it expires. Nothing happens, if we don't use it. We could have gotten a really quality player. I'm choosing not to get one. That's on you. That just doesn't even make sense with how the Warriors roll. So I'm confident that he's going to use that, but he's got to use it. That exception is found money. Outside of this, look, I just have this to say. The Warriors were a final 8. They made like the Elite 8. The Warriors were a top 8 team as determined by the playoff results last season. They were a top 8 team, and they still have, I would say that their upside with their stars is gone, but they still have a lot of upside with the rest of the roster, with the depth of the roster, right? I mean, one of like a Moses Moody post Pajensky and Kuminga is bound to take another step forward. And I don't think there will be a whole lot of regression from the likes of Steph, Draymond, and Jimmy Butler. I don't think there will be that big of a dip from year to year, from season to season. So the Warriors are a top 8 team as just these records, right? As per the playoffs. They made their big move, but it's time for them to really, really fill in the margins of their roster. So it's like they need more serviceable veterans. So when you're looking at a roster, like you can have one of Quentin Post or Trace Jackson Davis playing in the game, right? Or it's like one of a Moses Moody or like a Guy Santos, but like the Warriors definitely need more stability at those positions. And I think that they just are, they got future draft picks. They got a draft pick in this draft. They have their mid-level exception. They have the opportunity to trade a few pieces. Like I would say Moses Moody could definitely be traded. He's on a solid contract. So the Warriors have a lot of flexibility and leeway. But here's the great thing is that if it's not there, if these good moves aren't there to be made, the Warriors can stand pat and be like, we were a top 8 team. I can dig that. I can seriously dig. And that's not a run it back. I think that the Warriors will definitely tweak it a little and then run it back. I'm not averse to that at all, honestly. And with these big moves that are being made, I think that Mike Dunleavy Jr. can sometimes get overwhelmed by that. So you just gotta temper your expectations if you're a Warriors fan. Let's talk about the draft, though. Let's talk about the draft. The Warriors are picking 41 overall, so that is like 11 picks or so into the second rounder. The NBADraft.net has the Dubs picking Johnny Broome from Auburn. He is a forward/center, 6'9", he to me is a combination of like a Trace Jackson Davis meets Kayvon Looney. Undersized 5. Power forward naturally, but doesn't have that quickness. In my opinion, if the Warriors were to draft Johnny Broome from Auburn, I would not like the pick. I wouldn't love the pick. I would think maybe it was a decent pick, but then I would think, hey, look, the Warriors already have access to that look. So Steve Kerr can look at his roster and say, look, I have a player like Johnny Broome, and his name's already Trace Jackson Davis and also Kayvon Looney. Undersized, so like undersized centers who are not necessarily a big time above the rim players. And Trace Jackson Davis he dunked on Wemby, awesome. He's not an above the rim player that much. He just isn't. He doesn't have like that super quick twitch athleticism. That's okay. ESPN's last mock draft had the Warriors drafting center from China, Hansen Yang. Now, I actually like this pick. Yang is like 7'1" plus barefoot. So he's about 7'2" in shoes. And I really, he's only 19 years old. So he's not going to get, he would be a second round pick, right? 19 years old. But he has a whole lot of potential. He has potential in that realm of like, people are going to say the shades of like the Jokic and Alperen Sengun. It's not really like that. He's like, it's tough to describe Hansen Yang. He's a big guy. He's a tall guy, but he's not as filled out as I think he's going to be. He's got big, soft hands, and he's a very good passer. He can create out of the high post very well. So this is, he's big. He plays smart. I saw him at the draft combine in his, at the scrimmages. He played really well. He had like 10 points, 6 assists, 6 rebounds, and a block, and he really good passer. But here's the thing. Hansen Yang, I think that if he were on the Warriors, if the Warriors were to draft him, projected by ESPN, he projects to be like a high post playmaker on offense in the Andrew Bogut mold. He's been called like a Mark Gasol as well, which is actually, you know what? Mark Gasol is probably better comp. Get out of the Alperen Senguns, get out of the Jokic. He sort of has like this Mark Gasol build and game style. So think of like, a high post playmaker, passer like Andrew Bogut, defensively good positionally, not the best athletically. Maybe like a little bit like Bogut, but he's less athletic than even Bogut, but they're both big guys, right? Yang is big like Bogut was as well. Big man. A few draft notes. I really, really like Adu Thiero. He's a forward from Arkansas. I think he brings Kuminga-like physicality to the Warriors. He can guard pretty much 1 through 5. He can definitely guard 2 through 4 really well. He is an energetic spark plug, incredibly athletic, and he can play defense. If the Warriors were to draft Adu Thiero, forward from Arkansas, at 41, I believe that he would get playing time early, and I think that the Warriors could craft that he could be like, that he would be like in the vein of like a Guy Santos, but just so much defensive upside, not as much offensive upside as Guy Santos probably. Adu Thiero is really more like a run jump on offense, but I love him on defense, and he would, like, just his defensive ability is worth drafting at 41. I think he'll go sooner though. So it is what it is. Ryan Kalkbrenner. I like Ryan Kalkbrenner. He is a center from Creighton, another huge man, like 7'1" plus, 270 around, 250, 270. He gives me Luke Cornett plus vibes. If the Warriors want a center who is always who's high basketball IQ, Ryan Kalkbrenner has an incredibly high basketball IQ. He's one of the nation's leading shot blockers, but I don't think that translates as well to the pros because he's a drop guy. as a center. So he's going to drop on defense, and I think that doesn't translate as well to the NBA game with how much range shooters have, especially on the pick and roll. I like Ryan Kalkbrenner, but only schematically to give the Warriors looks, which would be good at 41. Kobe Bryant, guard from Kentucky, can shoot lights out. He is a person who you must account for. Here's the thing. He can't do a whole heck of a lot more. Tell me, do the Warriors, tell me, close your eyes or whatever, do the Warriors have any player on the squad who can shoot lights out at the shooting guard position, but doesn't necessarily have that much else to offer? If Buddy Hield comes to mind, ding, 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 you are the winner. You're a winner. He reminds me so much of Buddy Hield that that the look that Steve Kerr could give with him on the floor isn't necessarily conducive to it. I wouldn't say it's unique. And the Warriors are looking for looks. I know that sounds weird. The Warriors are looking for, of course, the best players available, right? The best players, but the players that can productively play roles on the Golden State Warriors, which it's different for every team. Let's see. I like Tyrese Proctor. I like his talent, Tyrese Proctor's talent. He's a guard from Duke, also projected second round. I really like his talent. Look, Tyrese Proctor, YouTube his NCAA tournament. He had a great tournament. He had a really good tournament. He'll have to buy in physically. I like what I see IQ and style-wise, but I think that Tyrese Proctor is going to physically maybe have some issues keeping up defensively with quicker guards, stronger forwards. So that puts him in a position, right? I like Micah Peavy, okay? Micah Peavy is, he's a Georgetown, I believe, small forward, guard. And he can guard just about 1 through 5, not super effectively. He's been compared to Kenrich Williams, I believe. Hey, Warriors fans, if you want a comparison, he reminds me of only the positives and no negatives of Anthony Lamb. So that's actually, I know, that's not the worst thing though. So he reminds me of Juan Toscano Anderson a little bit, a very versatile defensive-based guard / forward. I think that this name's going to come up for the Warriors. He is a forward, 6'11", from Eastern Europe. I forget exactly where. Bogoljub Markovic. Remember Markovic, okay? Why do I think so? Because Mike Dunleavy, this guy is a forward from Europe, 6'11". He can do a little bit of everything except for play defense. He's got range. He's skilled offensively. Think really in the Nikola Jovic, Matas Puzeles, but less skilled, okay? But his agent, Markovic's agent, is Mike Dunleavy Jr.'s brother, I believe. So look out for that. I could easily see, I believe, there are two things that I'll actually put up. For the record, I believe that the Warriors will try to buy a pick to draft Markovic. And for the record, I think that is a risky, even to buy a pick for him, because I really don't like what Markovic has to offer defensively, and it's effort-wise defensively, and that gets to me, right? So I'm telling you that a younger guy might not buy in defensively, and that's just no. The Warriors already had that in Kuminga. I'm just kidding, but I'm not really. So I'm sort of out on Markovic, but there's another one. For the record, I think that the Warriors will try and are trying to trade up in the draft for Stanford center Maxim Reynolds. He's a solid 7-footer, legit 7-footer, almost 7'1", and he moves so well. Wow, I just saw so much footage of him. I just did a lot of studying today of Max Reynolds out of Stanford. He is, I could totally see why the Warriors are sort of rumored to like him. I think that the Warriors will try to trade up for him. He reminds me of a player of a taller, Mo Wagner, of the Orlando Magic. But he's got more upside. He moves so well for a legit 7-footer. And like, I think that he still needs to grow into the game, but he's more perimeter oriented, which is, I don't love that, but he can play in the post more than Quentin post, which is good. And this is actually a very good example. Renaud can play in the post better than Warriors center Quentin post right now. This allows Coach Steve Kerr, if Renaud was on the squad, this allows Kerr to then play Renaud in specific scenarios, right? In specific situations, and then play post in certain situations. But if Renaud and post are both almost like the same player, then you're going to get two players for one situation. People would call that a log jam at the position, and not in a good way, right? You want to give different looks, and you want one player to be able to do that for you, hopefully. So I really think that Max Renaud would be great on the Warriors. I think that I think that he'll go to a squad that is known for drafting well. So either Renaud will go to like the Spurs, or he may go to like the Thunder or something like that. But he is a very, very talented big. I was surprised with how well he moved. Overall, look, shock and awe with the trades. Durant's traded, Drew Holiday's traded. I get it. The Warriors, it's going to be wait and see with the Warriors. The first domino will be, we got the draft, we got the exception, but Jonathan Kuminga, honing in on what to do with Jonathan Kuminga, and then moving on from there, I think will be great. However, the Warriors, no need to panic, no need for anything, because they finished in the top 8 last season, and they can still get better. So I love this. I will be all about the draft, all about these trades. The Warriors make a trade. The Warriors, whenever the Warriors draft later on this week, look, you know what to do. Just tune into C-Train Station, right? You'll know that the news is coming because I got you covered. So thank you so much to those who subscribe. Let's see. I'll link a few of my latest videos that actually talk about Warriors trade targets. Still totally valid right now. I'll link those below. So look for that in the description. Thank you again for subscribing. And of course, for your Golden State Warriors content, like, subscribe, follow, and I'll see you next time at C-Train Station. Have a great one.